Welcome everybody to 360 Coaching with Premier Teaching and Learning. Today I'm here with StephanieAffinito. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh my God, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I'm so excited you're here. So to tell you a little bit about Stephanie, she's a teacher educator in the Department of Literacy and Learning at the University of Albany in New York, which is amazing. She is able to help so many people in New York. She has a deep love for literacy, and so does I. So right away we became kindred spirits. And supporting teacher and learning through technology. So make sure you check out her website. It is amazing. Stephanie creates spaces for authentic teaching and learning, and she builds expertise to spark, conversation and just professional curiosity, to foster intention and reflection for teachers to reimagine what learning looks like for students. So, she's recently published a book. She is phenomenal. This woman is amazing. So make sure you check out her book with Hyman Publishing titled Literacy Coaching, Teaching and Learning with Digital Tools and Technology. Love it. I got to get a copy. And she presents regularly at state and national conference, so I'm pretty sure you'll see her ITSE and all these big major conferences on literacy coaching, teacher collaboration, and she continues to support teachers today in reading, writing through innovative technology. I love her already. Welcome.
Thank you. My goodness, what a fabulous introduction. I'm smiling here the whole time. Thank you so much for having me. As you mentioned, I'm a literacy teacher educator, and so I primarily work with teachers who are coming back to school to earn their certification as a literacy specialist. And as part of that work, I coach teachers to become coaches, and I also provide coaching to a number of districts. So like you said, I love all things literacy learning, especially literacy coaching, and of course, technology. But what I'm here to share with you today is a little old school plus a little bit of technology. We still need both. I want to share with you today what I would call my absolute number one indispensable coaching tool that really transforms the way I coach and the way I lead. And that tool is called a coaching sketch notebook. I know the tech person is talking about an old-fashioned notebook, but I promise you it's a game changer. And so I'm here today to introduce the idea to you, to show you what mine looks like, and then invite you into my digital notebook where I have all of the pages of my actual notebook online so that we can come together as coaches and leaders. I know that's the exciting part.
That is very exciting because, you never get time to doodle. And I love that doodling, create, and, it gets the juices flowing when I talk about literacy. And so anything I think about, I'm always writing and doodling. So yes, I love it.
Yes. Yeah. Something happens when you put a set of Sharpie markers and a big white piece of paper in front of you that just doesn't happen with line paper and a pencil. I totally get it. All right, so then I'll jump in and introduce this idea of a coaching sketch notebook to everybody. And I'm going to start a little unconventionally by showing you a picture of my oldest son, who is now going to be 16 very, very soon, but this was back when he was 3 years old. And I'm showing it to you because in our house, we have a superhero culture because of this child. You can see he dressed up as Superman and his cake says Batman for his 3rd birthday. And so in our house, we have a lot of superhero metaphors, a lot of superhero kinds of conversations, right? Educators, what's your superpower? Well, every educator has a superpower. And in my own experience, every coach has a superpower. Every leader has a superpower. However, every superpower always has a nemesis. Right? A formidable, usually victorious, not all the time, rival or opponent that really makes that superhero rise to the occasion, to be strategic in their own learning, strategic in their own actions on how to overcome whatever challenge is set in front of them. And if you're an instructional coach or an instructional leader, you are a superhero who likely has a particular nemesis as well. Something about your position that either is challenging more complex for you, or just something that you really have to work at so that you can lift the level of your coaching and leading. For me, my nemesis was PD. It was designing professional learning experiences for teachers that consistently was effective and engaging every time. I could come up with a great idea that worked for one grade level and bombed the next. Or one activity that worked really well for about a month and then stopped working and people didn't talk or collaborate anymore. And so planning PD for me was something that I did a great deal of in my graduate coursework and my work with teachers in schools. And so it was my nemesis. It was something I was going to have to be strategic over so that I could make that a part of my coaching that I could feel really proud about. And so whenever I have a challenge, I turn to my notebook. My notebook and my markers has always been the one tool ever since I was a little girl that I could put everything in. And this is just a snapshot of my obsession right here. These are 6 of my current notebooks. So I've got a notebook my daughter got for me called Me and My Big Ideas notebook. She said I need a big notebook.
Stephanie, I have a quick question because
Sure.
I just can't help but to think about all the things you just said. So what you're saying is I can use this notebook if I struggle with getting in the classroom to support teachers.
I am saying that you can use this notebook, design the coaching position you want to have. Like how you strategically fill a notebook is how you strategically move yourself to that position. So absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll show you how.
Okay.
So in terms of the notebook, I've got my big ideas notebook for just any and everything. I've got the private personal notebook like many of you might have that's tucked secretly away in my house somewhere. I've got my good old writer's notebook, which is where I tinker with blog posts and podcasts and just anything that I want to write. I've got a professional notebook where all of my meeting notes, my interactions and connections with teachers go there as a record of my coaching. And I have one that I call my Just Because notebook because it's made out of cork. And I thought if it could have made its way into a wine bottle and instead it made its way to my journal, then I have to have it. And then my last little notebook is what I call my one little thing notebook. So I don't know about the rest of you, but every year I choose one little word to guide the kind of year I want to have. It's a pretty big movement on social media, but I'd always pick a word and then I'd forget about it by February, right? So I got this little notebook. My daughter decorated it for me and it's by my bedside. And every night I write one little thing I did that day that hopefully brought me closer to whatever that vision was. So notebooking is a huge part of my life. So I thought, why not take my challenge that I'm facing in coaching, which is planning PD that's always effective and authentic and real. I got to head to the pages of my notebook to figure that out because that's just what I always do. So when I think about a notebook, if we think about what a writer's notebook is, it's an essential element to living a writerly life. Writers can write about small things, they can practice their writing craft, they can experiment, they can put any ideas and thoughts and dreams and just tell the stories of what our lives are. So I thought if I have a writer's notebook, why can't I have a coaching notebook? A place where I can write about any and everything with coaching, my ideas, the things I don't want to forget, the things that went wrong that I have a solution for next time, anything. And that's what I did. I started a notebook where I could just compile all of my ideas, all of the things that were working, the things that weren't working so I didn't repeat them, and use it as a professional tool for my own coaching life. So when I go to my notebook, and this is a really important part of the notebooking process, I started to use the design thinking process, and this is from IDEOU. And the design thinking process basically goes into this very loose, linear, yet can go back and forth kind of process where you start with a question, or in my case, a challenge. I want to better design professional learning experiences for teachers so that they can better reimagine instruction in their classroom for students. So what do I have to do that? I have to gather ideas and inspiration. What could I have teachers do? What could I have teachers think? Generate all of those ideas, gather them together, and the fourth part of the process was the big one for me, to make those ideas tangible. Now, I could find ideas on the internet or Pinterest or social media, and I'd write them down on sticky notes that I'd lose. I'd bookmark them in my favorites bar and forget what they were, or I'd even save them on my computer and then just forget the name of the file that I saved them under, right? Yeah, see, you're feeling me. And so I needed a better way because I was spending too much time trying to find those ideas that I lost rather than actually think about how I could thoughtfully use them. So when I thought about how to make the ideas tangible, that's when I went to my notebook. Every time I had an idea for professional learning or an activity I wanted to try, a great website I came across, I would put it in my notebook. And I wouldn't just write it down. I'd actually sketch the idea. What would the room look like? Where would the chart paper be? Would I need markers or sticky notes? How would teachers be sitting?
So Stephanie?
Oh, yeah.
No, I have a quick question. So how do you're doing this on your own, or like, do you collaborate with people, or is this something you just jotting on your own, or do you co-collaborate? How does all these ideas come to fruition?
Well, it's a solo activity at first.
Okay.
Kind of taking any idea that I found through social media with a conversation with other coach, and I would just notebook it privately and grow this collection. But now that it's gotten to be a little bit bigger, there's lots of ways that I collaborate with other coaches around the whole process. And that's what I'm excited about. That's what's in a couple of slides. So I started making those ideas tangible in my notebook, and I ended up with this really beautiful collection right here. Behind me, actually. This is my actual notebook. And
Wow.
is on the next slide where I would start to take the ideas I had and I would sketch them out. What do my sticky notes look like? What does the chart paper look like? What's the slide going to look like?
Nice.
And the act of drawing, like you said, the act of drawing, of sketching, of getting the markers out, it actually made me think about the process and what it would look like to actually do this thing with teachers. So I created the collection, and now when it was time for PD, I would go to my notebook and I'd sift through the ideas. I need a small group activity. Well, here's 4 or 5 or 6 that I saved in my notebook. Well, now I need some way to help teachers reflect on their way out the door. Well, here's 4 activities. And so it became a really carefully constructed tool for planning PD. I test all the activities out, which is the next step you see on the slide there. Sometimes they worked great. Sometimes they didn't. So I went back and I revised my drawing and revised my thinking, and I tried it again next time. So it started to become this tool for me, for my own learning as a coach. How am I growing? Not just planning PD for teachers, but how am I learning more about how adult learning works and how my activities might need to change? And then
this is great. I mean, 'cause I'm just thinking about me as like, what? I mean, because many times when we do PD, we do it and it's done and we're like, oh, and we don't take the time to reflect or take notes or think of how we can do it better. So yes, this is so good.
Yes, thank you. And the last step is where I'm kind of doing this today. I'm sharing the story, right? I'm sharing what's working. I was shocked at just how much this notebook has become a really integral part of my coaching life. And now I carefully cultivate the pages. So if my professional goal, like we mentioned in the beginning, if your professional goal is to get better at coaching cycles, then in your notebook, you need a tab that says coaching cycles, and you consciously develop those pages, and it pushes you toward whatever goal you want your coaching to have based around what matters most for your particular coaching context. Now in my notebook, they're not just willy-nilly ideas, right? So I do make sure that I bring in thinking about the standards, professional learning standards. I'm a literacy coach, so my ILA standards and my NCTE standards come into play. And certainly because of technology, I'm thinking about the ISTE standards as well. So it's it's a very strategic process, but a fun one that just brings everything all together. So when I design PD now, I'm not stressed, right? I get out my markers, got my sticky notes, my notebook, got my computer out for ideas. I use Google Keep every single day, so I get out my favorite app. I head to Twitter for all the things I've saved under some hashtags. And then I kind of pull it all together when I'm planning PD. And so it's a more fun experience, and it's something that is so thoughtfully done that you really feel good about. You feel like you've designed something ready to bring to teachers.
So I have a quick question. How do you use Google Keep and take all the pieces? Like, can you dive me a little bit into that process? Because I'm ready to get started with my markers.
Oh boy, we need a whole nother session for that.
I know.
I'll have to send you, I've written a blog post on how I use Google Keep for my coaching.
Okay.
I use it in a lot of ways. I use it for my daily to-do lists. I use it to list the professional development sessions that I know I have to plan. I'll put one each on a Google Keep note. And as I get ideas, I'll jot them down. But I also use Google Keep to collaborate with teachers. So each teacher I work with, I will create a Google Keep note that both the teacher and I share and have access to. And so when I write a note or a reminder, it pops up on the teachers as well. So it's this nice collaborative tool, kind of like Google Docs, but in a more colorful, fun way that comes right to your mobile device.
Thank you so much. Oh, that's cool.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So after all of that, how do I define what my coaching sketch notebook is? And I'm defining it because I want you to have one. I want you to make one. I define it as a collection of sketch notes, which for those that aren't that familiar with sketchnoting, basically a sketch note is just a drawing with sketching, with text, with colors, with icons. It's a drawing about an idea. So in my notebook, I have sketch notes, which are ideas for my coaching, but I also have a term I just made up myself called sketchtivities, which are sketch notes about the activities we could try in professional learning. I just came up with it. I thought
I love it.
To describe it. Each one of the pages is some sort of coaching pedagogy. It's an idea, a tool, a resource, something that I know will empower teacher learning, that makes it easier for me to plan learning experiences. I've got everything in my notebook that makes it go that much faster. And so my notebook looks like this. I gave you the quick version really quick, but my notebook actually turned into a binder because I'm a little type A and I needed to organize my pages. And notebook, I couldn't take them out. And do you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
No, I do. And then like add pages or take off pages. I know what you mean.
Yes. I may try an ARC notebook. That is my next step. But for now, it is a binder. And you can see it's just a small binder. And when I think of an idea, I jot it down. What needs to be on the table? What are the steps that I'll have to have? It's in a binder. You can see my tabs kind of sticking out. They are just sticky note tabs that I can move and remove and stick somewhere else as my coaching position changes and I want to cultivate the pages in my notebooks a little bit more. Right now, my notebook has a new section called Virtual Coaching Tools, which a lot of us need to use. So your notebook is a way to build those aspects of the coaching that you want to consciously grow. And so then I felt like this. My same son made me mom as the superhero. I'm not sure where the hair comes into play, but it's still the big M superhero. But that's how I felt. I felt like, yes, I conquered it, right? It has made coaching really enjoyable and something to look forward to when it's time to do this planning, which can sometimes, take up a lot of our time and energy. So this is one of my favorites. I wanted to give you an example of one of my favorite sketchtivities that's in my notebook. It's one of the most popular on my blog and social media as well. I thought of it in the middle of the night. It was about 2 a.m. I was stuck in an airport in Chicago at 2 a.m., exhausted, attempting to get my beverage out of the vending machine that would not come out. I was shaking it. I was, half in tears, so tired. And as I stood there, I kind of leaned my head against it and thought, oh, I wish this was a magical vending machine. I wish it could give me a blanket and just zoom me right home to my kids at the airport at 2 a.m. And of course I thought, well, gee, that's kind of a cool idea. I'm really sleep deprived. I might as well go with it. And I thought, what if I posed that question to my teachers? What if I said to them at this point of the school year, if there was a magical vending machine that could help make your classroom life better, what would be in it? And that's what I did. I actually went back to my seat waiting for the morning time and my plane to come, and I sketched out this idea of what the piece of chart paper would look like. You can see it's very basic, just looks like a vending machine with sticky notes piled all over it. It could be a chart paper, it could be digital using Padlet if you'd like. And as teachers came into the next professional learning session together, I asked them to take a sticky note and to write down one thing that if they could have it in that magical vending machine, it would make a difference to them in their classroom. Some of the ideas were big, like I need an extra hour in the day. I need another set of hands during my guided reading block. But some were small, like could you bring chocolate next time? Or, I need a new read aloud to spice things up. It was a fun activity. Teachers were laughing, they were talking, they were collaborating. And if I had just written down on a sticky note at 2 a.m. in the airport, vending machine, I would not have remembered what this was. I wouldn't have thought through the logistics of what I would need and how I could invite teachers into the conversation. But because I sketched it, because I made it a page that had importance, that made all the difference. And I was able to bring it into my work the next day. So every page I put in, it's thoughtfully designed because we're drawing it out. You have to think about it more than you would if you were just jotting some text down. And it's just a space to put all of those ideas in that designed sketch note form, making use of that design process so that you have a collection of all of these ideas right when you need them the most to give them a try.
So Stephanie, I have a quick question because my mind is going right now.
Good.
With things like this. So I'm envisioning you in the class, in the PD. So you have this up, and so teachers are actually putting it onto the board. And so how are you solving some of the problems that these teachers face? Do you bring chocolate, or does the administration be like, well, maybe we should invest in this because more teachers need extra hands, or, how does that collaboration work?
All of the above. Yes, I would bring chocolate. But what happened is I got some insight into how I could help teachers immediately. Those little things like chocolate or a new read aloud title. That I could do right away. Some of the other issues were things that we then talked about in grade level meetings and at faculty meetings that we could do something about. Like one of them was beyond needing a next book to read aloud, they needed a book room in order to actually do guided reading instruction that they were supposed to have. And so that led to conversations about, well, how could we get there? And if we can't, what can we do in the meantime? How can we come together? So yeah, the vending machine in that session, it was up in one professional development session that really led to these conversations. But I know of some coaches who keep up that vending machine all year long in their coaching space. And whenever a teacher has a request or a need, they take the sticky note, jot it down, and stick it up there like a parking lot, but a magical parking lot. It's just a fun metaphor to get teachers to talk and to really collaborate about what they might need next.
Oh my goodness, that's great.
It's the most popular one for sure out of my notebook. But I've got a couple more. I won't talk about them in too much depth, but I just wanted you to see some of the other more popular pages that other coaches tend to like. This one is fun. I found this idea through social media. It's a great opening for the beginning of the year when you have a new group of teachers working together, or just a way to launch a new community where you create a collective resume together on a piece of chart paper. How many combined years of experience, combined degrees, combined certifications, strengths, skills, hobbies, interests. Fun way to get to know each other and a great way to showcase what teachers bring to their particular grade level.
This is nice because it's also, like you said, an icebreaker, but it's not just a sit and get. And now we're getting to know each other because we really don't know each other, especially at the beginning, but to really dig and to value each other's experience that they bring, I love it.
Yes, to celebrate. This next one seems like a silly idea to put a notebook page on, but this had been something I had been wanting to do for a long time, which is just to write fun little messages on pencils and leave them around the school for teachers to find. It wasn't until I actually made the page in my notebook and thought about what some of those messages would be that I actually did it. So sometimes the pages are big and grand like vending machines, and sometimes they're simple, like leave a pencil where someone can find something to make them smile. This one I love this one. So this one I learned from Brenda Power, who she leads Choice Literacy, which is a really great online website for literacy teachers and literacy leaders. And she talks about what are our hidden Google searches. Like late at night, in the middle of the night when no one's looking, what are you Googling? And what does that say about what your life needs? And I thought, what a great activity to do with teachers. What are your private teacher searches, that really show what you need next? And if we could share those anonymously, those can help me figure out what I need to do next in my coaching. So that one's always a fun one. Always gets a few little looks like, what? You want me to write what? I'm not telling you what my private Google searches are, but once they get going, it's a fun one.
That's what you said. That is kind of spot on. I know this other, I guess, not investigate, but another way, like I would look through their Facebook, like if they were, I know this sounds crazy. I know this sounds so crazy, but we're all on the same Facebook, like PTE. And so in the search, I would put questions and kind of get some of the questions that families are asking, teachers are asking, and then address it. And the last search that I did, there's such a demand for engagement, online engagement. And so that kind of leads my next PD, because I know that's been a topic of question, topic of concern, and that's just looking up for Facebook. So I get it when you say Google, like share with me, what your interest is. So yeah.
I love that. I'm going to borrow that. That may end up being a page in my notebook next. The last one I put there is just kind of one of your basic run-of-the-mill activities to get teachers collaborating around a topic. So they kind of brain dump on sticky notes, and then they take that brain dump and they organize their thinking on one or two dimensions. So it could be, if you're thinking about classroom libraries, then on one dimension it might say, okay, list all of your favorite titles from your classroom library on sticky notes. And then you sort them. Which ones are written by diverse authors? Which ones are not? What's the ratio? Which ones are leveled and which ones are more for interest and hobbies? So just a basic grid that can be used in 100 different ways to guide a discussion. And so I have a page in my notebook for the grid, and then on the back, a list of ways that I could use it based on the content that I know I'm going to be coaching. So those are just 4.
Wow.
Shown you 5. Yay, I'm glad you love it.
I love it. I'm so blown away.
Yay. Well, then I've got a little more. So those, I've given you kind of the 5 that people typically like, but the other important thing about a notebook isn't just the pages, it's the tabs. It's how you label your tabs in your categories, because how you fill the pages of your notebook will ultimately be how you fill the days of your coaching position. Whatever you privilege on the page, you're more likely to enact in real life. And so these are my current tabs. They change based on who I work with and what school that I'm at, but I have tabs to help me build learning communities, to help teachers collaborate, all the way to ways to get teachers active during professional learning, how to really go through assessment data, as well as classroom coaching. So these are my tabs. No one right set of tabs. It completely depends on what your coaching and leading position looks like And then more importantly, the kind of position you want to have, what you want to have your coaching look like. If you start there with the page, you're more likely to enact that later on in practice. And that's when the notebook isn't just a collection of ideas. It's a way for you to set personal and professional goals around your coaching.
These are big ideas. I mean, whoa. So I was thinking so small, but now that I see your tabs, I'm like, this can really get into some massive units or, lessons or, so yeah, I really, wow. Thanks for sharing the tabs.
Goodness, you're welcome. Well, I've got more to share. That's coming up next, what we're sharing from today. So this is kind of my recap. This is my reminder of why you want one, why you want to make one yourself. All you need is some kind of notebook and a set of markers or colored pencils. It pulls all of your ideas together. It's just plain old fun. It's more creative. It's more joyful than just your typical old run-of-the-mill planning and noting ideas. Ultimately, it will save you time and energy when it's time to plan for your coaching experiences because you've got everything you need right there in the notebook. And then for you, it's a tool that sparks reflection. Every time I try one of these activities, if it worked, if it didn't work, I go back to that page in my notebook and I'll put a sticky note on it of something I want to remember next time. Or I'll actually redraw it so that I'm remembering, I'm not going to forget the lesson that I learned live so that I don't repeat something that I could have avoided in the future, which coaches develop that really long-term mindset for learning. Let's see. So here, this is the part where I get excited. So what I've done, okay, so I went from this is my personal notebook that I still use, but then I did this.
Oh my goodness,
Oh,
that is so big.
This is big. There you go. I made them life size, and here's why. I have been...
Oh my goodness. Are those plastic sheets over them too?
Yeah, they are.
So you can pull them in and out. I love it.
But here's why. I normally wouldn't go that big and do something above and beyond my personal notebook, but my notebook has been so instrumental to my coaching that I wanted my notebook to be easily shareable. I wanted to be able to put it on a blog or a website or something so that other coaches could look at my pages, could borrow them, could make them their own, could print them and tape them in their own notebook or just reimagine what they would look like. So in order to do that, I had to make mine bigger so that they were nice and scannable. And then this my fourth child, right? I have 3 kids. This is my 4th little baby, was my newest idea that I launched. And so I took all of my notebook pages. I created a website. You can see there are my tabs that I showed you earlier. And in the website are all 85, I believe, of my notebook pages.
Oh my gosh.
Not just the notebook page, though. I then paired it with a blog post or an article that explains exactly how to try the idea in your own coaching. I'm that
wow.
This kind of practice works that I wanted to share it with others. And so if you go to sketchnotebook.com, it'll ask you for your email. That's it. It's free. It doesn't cost anything, just your email. And when you get in there, you'll see this. Gives you a quick little welcome video at the top of how to navigate the site. And then you'll have access to everything that I've kind of sneak peeked for you today in my notebook is there on the site for everybody.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Did you guys see that? I cannot believe this. I am about to go over there and down just so I can learn the method because I do it anyway, just not in this organized fashion to where now I'm going back and reviewing and taking notes and getting better. So this is great. This is like self-PD. So I love it.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. And it's my hope that my notebook will help other coaches just kind of lift the level of their coaching as well. We're all in this together. So every time I learn something new, I want to share it with other coaches who are probably trying to learn the same thing. But what's great about the site is that there's a space under every notebook page. There's a space for comments. So coaches who have also tried it are sharing how it went for them or giving us a new spin on the idea that we could then take back with us. So it's not just a website. It's this budding little community of coaches who are, trying to do this together and figure out how they can bring it into their own practice.
Hopefully everybody in my community will join your community, because I
hope
think this
so.
is what we need. We need more of you, and especially sketching. So definitely the coachingsketchnotebook.com. I'm going to you guys too. And don't forget to click the link, you get the freebie, and go to her website. She has so much to offer. This was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm clearly jazzed up about the topic, so I'm just thankful that I got a chance to share it with some more coaches. So thank you for having me.
Anytime. So I guess if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to her. She has a wonderful site. It's very user-friendly. And
there it is right there. All the
there you go.
Information.
Oh my God, you're on Voxer too? How cool is that?
Oh.
Do you have a coach? I have a quick question. 2 questions. Do you have a following on Voxer? And the second question is, does all your teachers have a sketch notebook? Because this is what I'm envisioning.
So I am on Voxer. I absolutely love Voxer. And actually the newest, such a good segue, I add to my notebook every week. Every Monday, I add a new notebook page, and it has a corresponding podcast episode. So if you want to listen to it instead of read it, you can do that as well. And Monday's post is all about Voxer and how to use Voxer for coaching. So that couldn't have gotten any more perfect. So I do use it often for conversations with teachers, for virtual coaching cycles, and for book studies with the teachers that I work with.
Wow.
As for the teachers of the notebooks, I don't require it, but I'm very enthusiastic about it. And I actually have a group of teachers. We're meeting this summer. I have a group that meets in July and a group that meets in August, and we meet once a week for an hour. And I pace everybody through how to build your own coaching sketch notebook, how to fill the pages so that you're ready to go for the fall with this new idea.
That is a neat idea. Wow. How did you come up with that idea? That's so neat.
Well, it was just me and my wanting other people to do this. I knew they would love it.
No, I love it just already. So make sure you check her out. And like I said, there's all the information. Other than that, Stephanie, you have been amazing. Man.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.